Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Lewis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, hot downtown Olivet, Missouri. I'm a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every week by my very capable crew. My oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And Rob Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry for the garbage truck just went by, so I apologize.
Got to pick up that trash.
Exactly. Take out the trash today. And just a reminder for everybody that's listening today, all of our clients are folks like you. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so that they can have a fun and hopefully financially successful and worry-free retirement. We do have a lot of things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call today. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. But there are lots of other ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us section. Send us an email with a request for a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. You can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen that says Sign Up, and that's for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. We have a not-so-new newsletter now.
No,
for
this
month
month
of
is
August.
just flying by, and here we are in the last week of it. So we have the August 2023 newsletter has some great articles you're definitely going to want to check out. The first one being Saving for Retirement Healthcare Costs, and this article is great because it shows some of the different usage amounts between original Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and Medicare Advantage if you're in a high usage year. So it's a really informative article showing the breakout of how those costs add up depending on which Medicare enrollment you're involved in, whether it's Medicare Advantage or original Medicare. Our second article is Put Your Money Where Your Values Are. Ethical investing is a thing now, and a lot of people are definitely taking part in not wanting to invest or wanting to invest in certain companies that reflect their values. This is a great primer on what that looks like. And our next article is the new changes to 529 plans, how unused 529 plans can be, under certain stipulations, rolled over into a Roth IRA. And the last article would be leaving an ethical will. We're all familiar with people who leave wills and, the assets. These wills also leave their values. So that's definitely an article you're going to want to read.
Exactly. And Erin and her staff do keep the last 6 to 8 months of these archived for your printing, viewing, or downloading convenience. The other way to keep in touch with us during the week is by hitting the Contact Us section, right, babe?
That's right. You can click on the upper right-hand corner of the website, jblfinancial.com, and send us an email. Like I said, a request for a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both.
Exactly. So we'd love to do that. And again, our phone lines are open. We're live and local. Well, you guys are live, and I'm not really local. I'm out in California, so we'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. So while we're waiting for your calls and your texts, which way are we going this morning, babe?
Well, I thought, why don't we start off with just a little update on that IRS, actually the changes to the tax code, which happened at the end of last year. It was the Secure Act 2.0. It helped to increase the required minimum distribution age from 72 and making it 73 this year, 75 in the upcoming years.
Didn't they make that for 2033, the 75?
I think 2033. I can't remember.
I know it was on the wrong side of the 2020s.
Yeah, I think you're right. So for some people, you'll be chasing that RMD age potentially. And for those of you that haven't reached 73 yet, your number will most likely be 73 if you're approaching in the next couple of years. It also made some changes to how we save for retirement for those of us that aren't looking for required minimum distributions. And one of those changes was that for some individuals, higher income earners, catch-up contributions are now going to be required to go to Roth or after-tax retirement vehicles versus into your pre-tax account. Before that rule had gone into effect for this year, but now the IRS has extended the deadline into next year for people to make for employers to make changes to their retirement plans to accommodate for that.
No income limitations on that either.
Correct.
That's great. Great news.
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because for them to try to require all 401k plans, 403bs, to add a Roth option if it didn't exist already inside the plan was not going to be easy. And then obviously for January 1st of 2024, and then at the same time to also do all those communications with plan participants was going to be difficult. So putting it off a year, certainly from an administrative point of view, made sense. And, with many of these, and frankly almost with all of these administrative decisions with the IRS, you have to consider that they're going to happen until they change their mind again. So it's always possible that we could see those rules modified. But again, if you're somebody that's highly compensated, and we're talking about having income, I think it's 137,000, 167,000, some number like that. If you're over that amount,
145.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good. So if your W-2 income is over 145,000, those, your catch-up contribution, assuming you're over the age of 50, is going to be forced to and be required to go directly into a Roth 401k account. So something to think about, which some folks will say, hey, that's cool. Other folks are going we're already doing that now. Well, the big difference, again, is that we're going from a pre-tax contribution to an after-tax contribution, one that certainly is going to continue to grow income tax deferred, and then obviously can then be moved to either a Roth IRA or, frankly, I guess could be taken in cash at the time the rollover occurs. Right, babe?
Right. Before we get to Audrey that we have on the line with a pension question, we did have a text come in that says, you always say Erin is your oldest prodigal daughter, but I looked up prodigal and it says reckless spender. Is that true about Aaron? Now, I looked it up as well because I thought that prodigal meant to return. And so I missed part of the definition, which is a person who leaves home, behaves recklessly, but later has a triumphant return. So...
Well, honey, you've got to ask the question whether you resemble that remark or not.
I guess that's a great point.
He's the one that gave you the label, though.
Right, you're the one calling me that. Wait, how did that get turned around
I
on
love
me
that
so
jujitsu.
fast?
Well, it made it easy, but you. I guess I would say, I have two of these. So the answer is I think you do resemble that remark. Not that you're reckless, but you're a chip off the old block. So I like that.
We're changing the definition of words here on Straight Talk on Retirement. Let's get to Audrey on line 1.
Good morning, Audrey.
Oh.
She run away?
Looks like she didn't like our definition of the word prodigal, which is fair since it's not the real one.
That's okay. Well, Audrey, you can always call back as well as any of our listeners at 314-931-5877 because Eric, my incredibly capable producer, 18 years. It's been a fun run with Eric. He'll be happy to screen your call for us. Or 84126 from the text line.
All right. Well, while we are waiting for your calls and texts, you can always text in. I've got that up right here. No issues. Why don't we go to an email that we received from John?
Okay. Well, great. So John writes to us, I've been a long-time listener to the show, and I enjoy the way you and Aaron present information, especially definitions from the dictionary, making it easy for a non-financial person to understand. I'm also a Team Jeffer. Whee! I love that.
It must be a long-time listener then.
Exactly. He's certainly a mature adult. We love his taste in team discussions here. So I'm 63 years old, and I hope that you will confirm that I am one of your rock stars. Well, we'll have to see. I plan to call you for a coaching session soon, but before I do, I need a little help with my math. Can you help?
Of course we can help. What are the few of the things that we're going to start with to get John on the right track?
Being clear on your net pay every month.
And this is pretty easy. You just take a look at your paycheck, what's deposited into your account every month after taxes have been withheld, after your health insurance expenses have been withheld. If you happen to be a person that's paid on commission, I always like to think about this as, do you consider your commission bonuses, or are you actually living off of part of your commission to pay for certain expenses? If that factors back into your monthly expenses or even an annual expense, you'll want to add that in as well. Or if you're someone that has a little bit of a variation in your pay due to if you're hourly or if you're able to procure overtime pay, that's something else that you'd want to check in on too.
And what about any amount that's going into your savings, or is everything being consumed? This
is a really good one too, because a lot of people are already planners in their lives, so they pre-save for things that they'd like to spend money on later. For example, saving up for family vacations, saving for new purchases, things of that nature. So if you're someone that's putting money aside on a monthly or an annual basis, but eventually you spend that money during the course of the year, you're going to want to add that back in. However, if you're someone that's just putting money aside for a rainy day and you are seeing your savings account continuing to build, then you know that that's not part of your monthly expenses. That's actually money that you're saving above and beyond what you might be saving in your retirement accounts.
What about adding up your sources of income and the ones you can reliably count on every month, like Social Security, pension, real estate, rental properties, if you have any?
That's a great point as well. So you'll want to gather some information on what your retirement income is going to look like. For most of us, that includes Social Security. If you're a former teacher, that might be a pension from the peers pension system. If you worked for a company that's going to offer a pension, like maybe you're a union worker or you've worked for one of the larger corporations in St. Louis that offers pensions, or a hospital system, things that you know that you can reliably count on that won't become variable, like, for example, investment income.
And lastly, will you be working after your formal retirement? How much will you earn, and for how long?
This is another great one, because we have quite a few individuals in retirement that also look to, maybe procure a part-time job, or one of their spouses. There's one of their spouses, probably just one spouse. They could have.
They have many. Make them put them out there to work. Wow.
What else?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Maybe your spouse is going to continue to work. What is the loss of your income? How is that going to impact your monthly family expenses?
Yeah, I think what's important here is that for us, the planning paradigm that we use it isn't based on gross income. It's based on net income, because that's what people spend their lives on. We know that with your gross income, you obviously have a lot of pre-tax deductions, whether it's for health care, whether it's for retirement plan contributions, whether it's for charitable contributions, et cetera. So what we're trying to do is number one, is to get a real firm handle on what your true after-tax spending is. And that's really where we start. So let's get into the example that we can talk about with John. Let's just assume that, John, your net monthly paycheck is $6,000 per month. Naturally, what we're going to do is we're going to turn that back into a pre-tax number by increasing that amount by 20% to cover for federal and state taxes, which means that we need to have $7,200 a month. Your Social Security at your normal retirement age, which is 67, is estimated to be at $3,200 a month. You don't have a pension. So that means the hole that we need to fill once your Social Security valve is turned on is $4,000 a month. And naturally, at this moment, you haven't indicated to us whether or not you would be working on a part-time basis, or maybe changing careers and doing something different, or maybe you've got a side business. And obviously that would impact, we would have to discuss that a little bit, and Rob can discuss that in a moment here, about how working after you retire and before your normal retirement age really affects that cash flow number. So if we do have to fund that for 4 years, that $4,000 a month that we need over 12 months, $48,000 per year, what we're going to do is we're going to divide that number by 4%. The reason we do that is that's what we consider the prudent rate of withdrawal. That'll give us the capital that we need. I like to call that the milk money that we're going to need in terms of assets to generate that income, which is approximately $1.2 million. At the same time, we've also got to add in that Social Security number that we think we're going to have eventually, because we're not going to have that if you wait until normal retirement age, and that number comes out to be approximately $336,000. So if, in fact, you had over $1.5 million of assets, that is the milk money plus that early money, then you might be considered a rock star, and we would give you a official woo-hoo.
But also what that means is if you're not quite a rock star yet, we either have a goal to work towards, or we have a timeline in which it makes sense that you might be able to retire.
Yeah, so there are 4 or 5 things that we're really going to look at this point. So why don't you guys go through those?
Well, if he continues to work, less capital would be needed. If he takes Social Security before his normal retirement age, more capital would be needed.
We're also going to have to add in the cost of COBRA for retiree medical coverage, because, between 63 and 65, John's not going to have access to Medicare. So we're going to have to make sure that we add in some more inflated expenses for health insurance costs, because we know that between 60 and 65 is some of the most expensive time for individuals when they are looking to retire but might not have access to other health care. We also didn't hear quite a bit. We didn't hear everything from John in that we don't know if he is married, because that might be an option for health insurance for him to jump onto his wife's plan if she's still working. So we'd still probably need a little bit more from John to quite tell him if he's a rock star yet, or if we're going to need even more capital than what we talked about, the $1.5 million. The other important thing to me is the mix of assets, taxable versus after tax. So what's inside of John's retirement accounts versus what is outside that he's already paid taxes on, because this can have a pretty large impact on how much available money he has to spend, because for every dollar we take out of a retirement account, we know we have to account for taxes there. And then the other important thing to consider is we've only covered John's monthly income need. We haven't considered other capital expenses like
remodeling,
right,
vacations, automobile replacement. You know, everyone thinks they're always getting their forever car, but there's always one that comes after that.
Right, and there's also always things that come up. They don't necessarily have to be bad. Maybe, like you said, fun, large family vacations, or you finally find the spot that you want to move to where the weather isn't 105 degrees in August. You know, there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
And also, you know, family situations also change. You know, sometimes we're seeing our clients' children may be in between jobs, and they may need a little bit of help with capital. There are some blessed events that occur that I'm still waiting on, which is grandchildren. You know, eventually those grandkids can have a big impact. A lot of our clients want to plan and help, maybe assist with either savings or educational expenses, et cetera. Sometimes, whether it's preschool or private school or college educations, et cetera. So, John, we hope this helps. It's really kind of a basis of beginning. We obviously appreciate your listening, and we'd love to see you during a coaching session. You know, the big deal here at the end of the day is that the algebra problem is always the same, which is, you know, how much are you actually spending? What's it take? How much income does it take for your life, for you to make your life work? What are the inflows that we can count on, and how much of a hole do we need to fill? Dividing that by assumed prudent rate of withdrawal, then we know the capital that you need. But it's fun, and you know, we're certainly looking forward to seeing you in a coaching session sometime in the future. Anybody else that wants to come in and see us, we'd love to see you as well. Easy to do. Just give our office a call, 314-863-0008, or if you like, you can go to our website, hit the Contact Us section, and our staff will be more than happy to get back to you very quickly. Let you know the documents, which we hadn't actually talked about. There are a whole set of documents that we're going to want to take a look at during those coaching sessions so that we can get a better idea about where you're at, right?
That's right, and maybe we'll get into a little bit more specifics about what we'd like to see if you're thinking about coming in for a coaching session after our first break of the hour.
So don't touch that dial. More Straight Talk on Retirement. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Diana with Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. This year we're celebrating 50 years in business. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your lives for over half a century. It's because of you that our small family business thrives in St. Louis. From our family to yours, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
When you pay for tree work, you want to be sure you're getting the most for your hard-earned money. That's why you should always use the ISA-certified arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin, Missouri. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, and we've been the go-to tree service since 2008. Tree removal, tree trimming, storm damage, deadwood removal, stump grinding, and more. Give River City Tree Service a call for all your tree service needs at 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
When you've got the blues, when you've got the off-season blues, The low-down, barn-burning, 5-on-3, fast-breaking Thomas to Cairo, boots to blade, towel tossing, glove dropping, stop and smell the ice. 14th Street Blues. When you've got the blues, get the blues. Rhythm and blues.
Get your single game tickets, including giveaway and theme nights now at stlouisblues.com.
You're selling your home and I want to buy it. This is Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I am ready to pay top dollar for your home. No contingencies, no inspections, no monkey business. I buy your home no matter the condition or location, and you walk away with cash. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867, 314-283-0867, or at robankproperties.com. That's ROBANG properties.com.
Mom, what do you always say?
There's nothing sadder than jewelry that sits in a drawer.
That's why we are proud to offer jewelry repair on site at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. We know that your jewelry is important to you, and we take that part of our job very seriously. Visit us at Doherty Ferry in Big Bend or learn more at wowdiamonds.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 9:35 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. We're back to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the usually busy text line.
And I was just told by our producer that, Audrey, if you're out there, we mistakenly missed your call, but if you call back, we'll be more than happy to answer any and all inquiries you have.
I know,
and he'll pay you a quarter as well, so that's good to go. Honey, I was thinking about this whole prodigal thing, and I guess I could say
been thinking about
I could say my darling older daughter.
Darling, oh, that's really sweet. I don't know.
Okay.
Better than reckless and...
Reckless spender, older daughter. Reckless spender on financial show, older daughter.
Reckless spender of other people's money, financial advisor person.
Well, I mean, aren't we all excellent spenders of other people's money?
I don't know. I've never tried it.
I guess I could say my older cannibal, as it would be, so it's all good. Well, great. So while we're waiting for your texts and phone calls, where are we going?
Well, we just wanted to read this one text, and our texter writes, what documents do you request to have available for a review during a coaching session? How often do you visit with clients each year?
Must have been listening to our first segment.
Right. Wanted some clarification.
So nice thing is you don't have to remember all of this, because when you give the office a call or if you send us an email, Aaron at jblfinancial.com or Jeff at jblfinancial.com, Kelly, our office manager, will give you a call or send you an email with first, we'll find a day and time that works best for you to come into the office, or if you'd prefer a phone or Zoom appointment, we can accommodate that as well. She'll also include that list of documents for you, so you don't have to write them down right now. We're going to want to take a look at your retirement plan documents. So if you have a 401k, a 403b, a 457 plan through your employer, we'd like to take a look at not only how much you saved, but how you're currently invested. If you have access to a pension, we'd love to see some numbers, maybe that you've had them simulate for you, what it looks like if you retire at the dates you're considering retirement. If you have any savings outside of retirement accounts, so that would include brokerage accounts, if you have any life insurance policies, annuity policies that you've purchased along the way. Basically, we want to take a nice snapshot of your financial life. We also like to take a look at your last tax return, just to see not only what income you're filing with, not just if it's W-2, but if you have dividends and interest, if you have other passive income that we want to take note of that may or may not stop in retirement, but that we want to factor into your income goals. We'd like to take a look at that as well. And
Social Security statement, if you have one.
Or we make you get one.
That's right. Exactly.
What was it? SS.gov, socialsecurity.gov?
SSA, Social Security Administration.gov. They will ask that you create a My SSA account, which is great because then that means that you're just well on your way to when it's time to start filing for some of these things for your Social Security benefits, for your Medicare benefits, because you'll do both through Social Security Administration. So it'll help set you up. If you happen to have any other financial instruments, right? Any financial instruments you'd like us to take a look at that maybe we didn't even list on our list of documents, this time is your hour to discuss with us what your goals and objectives are. So if that includes something not on our list, please bring it along with you.
The more documents you bring, the more thorough and comprehensive the coaching session will be.
Absolutely. And to answer the second part of the question, we generally meet with our clients at least 3 times a year. We give you a call every several months to check in, and if you're good, we're good, but we always give you that option. We consider those calls a minimum, not a maximum. You're more than welcome to call and come in or send us emails with questions or give us a call for a quick chat anytime you like once you've engaged us.
Yeah, and the other question that wasn't asked is how do we get paid? And so we are fee-based advisors, which means that all the accounts that we have under management, we charge 0.25% per quarter or 1% per year, based on the account value of those assets. And those monies, people never cut us checks. What happens is each account that you have has an embedded money market, which gets debited at the end of each quarter. So it's great. Again, the more information you bring us, as Rob said, I think the better look that we have for you, and frankly, it makes your time extremely or much more effective with us in bringing that information. And frankly, we've had situations, unfortunately, in the past where people don't bring in information. We have to say, go back when you grow up and bring in the information, because it's sort of like going to see your doctor and saying, I'm not taking my clothes off. Well, it's just how it is. We need this information so that we can truthfully run these scenarios like we talked about, just like with John in the last thing. How much is your next spending? Where are the income flows? And we'd love to do this on our big electronic 6x8 whiteboard, which is where we create your retirement game plan right in front of you. And we'll do that within 60 minutes.
Well, we have our next caller on the line. Rick has a question about taxes.
Good morning, Rick.
Quick background here. I'm 70 years old, retired. Just started collecting Social Security. My first one came yesterday, as a matter of fact. $41.55 a month for that. Okay.
Woo-hoo.
Okay. And then I am still working part-time in my old business. Current income anywhere from $125,000 to $135,000 a year. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have $2.5 million in my retirement account, and I'm trying to figure out how to lower my taxes. Quit working, right?
Well, that's one way to do it.
How about a Roth or something like that? I mean, is that got to dump money into that?
Well, as you're still working, you are able to make Roth contributions, but that's not going to decrease your tax liability while you're making those contributions. So you're able to contribute $7,500 a year of earned income to a Roth, but that's using after-tax dollars. So unlike when you make pre-tax contributions to retirement plans that reduces your income and then you'll pay taxes later, which, 3 years from now you'll be required to take those minimum distributions from those accounts. A Roth won't help with taxes today, but it may help with taxes down the road. Go ahead.
Why don't we ask Rick a question here? Rick, are you making any contributions to retirement accounts now, based upon? The fact is, there's your big deal. If you're self-employed, what you might consider doing is setting up what's called a simple IRA, which is one that has limits that are greater than a traditional IRA. So, as an example, I believe, if I'm correct, you should be able to move aside at least, I want to say $13,500 per year.
I think it's up to $18,000 now.
Well, that's cool. So with the catch-up contribution, right? So you can do up to $18,000, and then your company can even contribute another 3% above that. So I would certainly suggest that you get with your accountant and take a look at that.
Or what about a SEP IRA because he's self-employed?
Well, right. I mean, if you don't have any other employees, you may be able to put up to 25% of your income into that. Now, again, as Aaron said, you're going to be subject to required minimum distributions 3 years from now, but at least what will then occur is that you can buffer the blow. The only other thing you might consider is, if you're not doing these today, is frankly charitable contributions. So those are really your two biggies.
Then my wife has reached a required minimum distribution, and she's on Social Security too, which is she has to take out $25,000 plus $1,700 a month in Social Security. So, do I make rock star status for you guys? Is my question.
I would say yeah. Absolutely. Goodness.
Yeah.
Rock stars for the IRS, too.
That's great.
Well, absolutely. Let me, if you don't mind my asking one other question.
Sure.
Well, the income that you're receiving today from your part-time business, is it real estate?
No, it's a commission. It's commission sales.
Okay,
but not real estate. No.
Okay, so have you incorporated your business?
I have not. I get a 1099 at the end of the year. I pay,
Okay.
Everything else out of that.
Well, Rick, what you might want to consider is getting together with, if you currently have one, your CPA, or getting actually with a CPA, because at this point, I'm sure that there are probably expenses that you have that can run through the company. At the same time, what you can do is you can use the company under a C corp to basically to retain those assets, and based on the income flow that you're talking about having from your other stuff, retaining money inside of a corporation, the taxation on that would be lower than you taking it out personally. So, and the other thing is, at least with a C corp as a possibility here, there are things that the company can pay for you, which normally would not be deductible in a self-employed situation. And
what would that be like? Like what? For example, what would that be?
Well, as an example, let's use let's say from an insurance point of view, there's no question that if you and your wife obviously have a lot of cash flow and assets, but you may want to protect them against long-term care expenses. The corporation could purchase long-term care contract and pay those premiums for you, and they would be fully tax deductible. The other thing is certainly is healthcare is another area that they can pay the premiums for you. They're 100% deductible. You may end up designing a plan like we do, which is the best healthcare plan in the United States, where what we do is we have a medical reimbursement plan where we reimburse our employees, including ourselves, for after-tax expenses that they have, and that can be done, and that can actually be in a situation where those will be fully deductible and non-includable. So there are a lot of things that they can do, and obviously, like Aaron was saying, is if you set up a SEP, you've got another way of absorbing money. So I think you're in a situation where, woohoo, you're a rock star, but getting a little bit more assistance and professional advice. And obviously, we work with CPAs as well in helping our clients create these strategies, working with small business owners. It's really time for you to talk to somebody and figure this out, and frankly, put you in a position where you can really get yourself ready for the 2024 tax year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thanks for your
Thanks for the information. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a good day.
You're welcome. Great phone call. And, we do a lot of work with small employers, not just with helping them make sure that the retirement plan that they have fits their current situation. Interestingly enough, especially with companies that have less than 100 employees, the knee jerk, I would say, or the typical recommendation with creating retirement plans was 401ks. I mean, I would think that we've probably taken half of our clients' 401ks and moved them into simple IRAs because we can reduce administrative expenses. In many cases, what's happening is the investment fees, expenses are the same or lower. And they, frankly, are in a situation where they have a little more flexibility because they're only matching contributions in many cases for people that are actually making contributions. So getting a second opinion, especially from another professional, always makes sense, and it's not going to cost you anything. So go do that. And we're obviously happy to, assist in that process. If you want to say that we're kind of running the show when it works at that in terms of getting them with the right people and really being like we are the idea people behind a lot of this stuff. So it's good.
That's right. I think we should take our second break of the hour. When we get back, we have a couple more text questions to answer.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on retirement. Do you have them in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one in here.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
What if I told you that with one click to Wholesale Siding Depot, that's WSDepot.com, you can view the best selection of windows, doors, siding, and decking products that are durable, up-to-date, and energy-saving that will increase your home's value and comfort. All at wholesale pricing to save your hard-earned money. My grandson Elijah says,
"Are you kidding me?"
My name is Julius Krasanik, celebrating 51 years in this industry. Our local and family business is Wholesale Siding Depot. Please visit our website at WSDepot.com. That's WSDepot.com. For name brand windows from Anderson and Viwinco, CertainTeed composite and vinyl siding, Pro-Via and Masonite doors, decking from AZAC, Envision, Fortress, and Trex. We also offer a free contractor referral service to take care of your installation needs. Keep it local and professional. Please visit WSDepot.com. That's WSDepot.com.
Are you tired of your outdated bathroom? Do you need safety upgrades or easier access to your shower? Whether you need a tub-to-shower conversion, walk-in tub, or full bathroom remodel, Michael's Bath specializes in transforming ordinary bathrooms into your own personal oasis. And in most cases, they're 35 to 50% less than the competition. Michael's Bath is a family-owned company with no gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They offer 0% financing and work with the VA. Call Michael's Baths at 636-775-0800 for a free consultation. Online at michaelsbaths.com. They'll help you design the bathroom of your dreams.
The official birthplace of the toasted ravioli is
Mama's on the Hill.
And Mama's on the Hill serves the best in town. Mama's has been a mainstay on the Hill for decades and is still a family-run restaurant serving up great Italian food in a fun atmosphere. Open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner, and right in the heart of the Hill at Edwards and Bischoff. Delicious catering and party rooms too.
Mama's on the Hill.
Make reservations at 314-776-3100 and 24/7 at mamasonthehill.com. Are you a former smoker? The lawyers at Teen Malone are bringing cases against Big Tobacco to hold them accountable for their wrongdoings. If you or a loved one have recently been diagnosed with a smoking-related illness, such as bladder cancer, throat cancer, lung cancer, or COPD, please call 1-888-SMOKE-18 to learn more. That's 1-888-SMOKE-18. There's no cost to speak with us.
The Big 550 KTRS really is your home for soccer in St. Louis.
Brown's Boot is coming to the Big 550. Hi, this is Phil McDermott, and I couldn't be more thrilled that St. Louis U and SIU Edwardsville will be playing for the storied Brown's Boot. That's on Saturday, September 2nd at City Park. The women started off at 5 p.m., followed by the men at 7:30.
Right here on your home for soccer in St. Louis.
The Big 550, KTRS.
School is back, which can only mean Dogtown Pizza is back. Hey, Josh here, and with those long days of pickups, practices, and plays, you're going to want some pizza. With so much running around during the week, you need something quick, easy, and that everyone will enjoy, and that's dinner with Dogtown. Bacon, hot wing, or just plain cheese, there's something for all the kids. And a tomato basil garlic for mom and dad, too. Now with 11 varieties, back to school means back to Dogtown. DogtownPizza.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it looks like we've got about 5.5 minutes left in this hour. And of course, we've got the second hour coming up right afterwards. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And the text line, heating up this morning, not unlike the weather. Awesome. I'm a public school teacher and will hit the rule of 86 in 2028. I will take the partial lump sum option, the 3-year option. What is the break-even point in years between straight pension and the lump sum in years? And then the second question being also, will Social Security show my reduced value or my non-reduced value? So let's answer the easy question first, which is, unfortunately, Social Security, if you are simply looking at your paper statement or if you happen to be looking online, in one of those generated statements, it's going to show the non-reduced value. So you're not going to see the windfall calculated into the number that's reflected. You'll probably either need to give them a call or schedule an appointment. I do not know if all of the offices are allowing for office visits yet. I know many of them are still requiring phone visits to have these conversations. And then regarding the how to calculate the time differential between the partial lump sum and the straight pension.
I don't know. I would think that's kind of easy. You just take the lump sum, you divide it by the pension number, and it tells you how many years to break even. You know, it's interesting because I would say for most folks that decide to take the partial lump sum, it's not really a function of breaking even with the actual benefit.
Creating
it's really
some
more
liquidity.
a function. Yes, exactly. And giving them, I think, a little bit more flexibility in making decisions about, are they taking capital? Do they want to pass capital on? Is that important as well? So, again, your algebra problem is going to determine which makes the most sense for you. Once you make these decisions, you can't change them. So it's always good, I think, to visit, have a coaching session with your current advisor or new advisor if that's something you want to do. You don't have one today. To really have these discussions, vet these things out, and it'll make you feel more comfortable when the time comes to make those decisions. That's
what I always really loved about the Peers pension system. So for public school teachers, that you do have this option. They give you several in terms of taking a partial lump sum, but still having access to a piece of your pension as well. So you kind of have the opportunity to potentially have the best of both worlds. You get to create a nice fixed base of income for yourself, but then also if you're someone that maybe doesn't need the full amount of pension, you have the opportunity to create some liquidity for yourself, or also create the opportunity to pass some of the assets on to your family if something were to happen to you, which not all plans that have pensions allow for. Many would require one or the other. Either you're going to take a lump sum or you elect the pension option.
It's nice that they kind of give you the best of both worlds.
I like that.
Yeah, and we also saw this occur with many of our clients, and not too many of them, but a few, where they currently were receiving pension distributions. And I know this happens specifically with, the large healthcare, the largest hospital system here in the city, where they gave many of those folks an opportunity to do a redo, which is to say they'll offer them a lump sum as compared to continuing the pension payout. And having an opportunity to redo or rethink that, it makes sense. It's kind of fun to do this. And, if you can truly, and really that's what retirement's all about, is to model your income to meet what your current lifestyle is.
Absolutely. I mean, usually we say that these pension elections are ones that are generally irreversible, but sometimes companies give you the chance to try again. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're happy with the election that you selected, or maybe, like you said, Dad, this is the opportunity to say, I've used the pension for a while. Is this still the way that I want to go?
Yeah, and obviously we can also say that one of the things that we're very much involved with our clients, especially those that don't have pensions or those that do have them and want to replace them, is actually creating a personal pension for them in the exact amount that they need, and then having the flexibility in many cases to be able to pass on that capital to their heirs, which is something that you don't have with a pension plan, unfortunately. So it's all good. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
I think we have one quick text question left.
My RMD from my IRA is $25,000 per year. I don't need the money, and it piles up in my checking account where I get practically no interest. Is there an alternative to this?
Yeah, well, you know what? There absolutely are some alternatives. I would consider a higher yielding money market account that you've probably seen as. But we'll be right back after our break.
Dave Packer, ABC.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woohoo! Hour number 2. Straight Talk on Retirement here on the Big 550 KTRS. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. You know, I love these break between the hours, babe.
Why?
You know, last night we had some friends of ours come over, and your mom cooked up a really big rack of lamb dinner, which was great. I mean, the fact that she actually cooked was even better, but because she doesn't do that too often for me anymore, so it was kind of nice. But our friends brought over one of my favorite dishes, a big blueberry pie.
Are you saying that's what you ate during the break?
That's what I'm eating right now. Yeah, I am in heaven.
Right now.
I am in heaven. Exactly. It's exactly
8 a.m.
Like
well, at least there's some fruit in that.
Oh yeah, and it is like super, super sweet. And you know, I'm a sourpuss, so I need that. What can I tell you?
Well,
it's good, and actually, it's actually almost as good as the one you make for me.
Oh, thank you. That's real sweet. Oh, Rob's looking at me now like he never got a blueberry pie.
I get a blueberry pie.
Well,
I'd like the tall glass of milk. Go with it. I mean, all right. See how it is.
Well, Rob, when you're a dad, maybe one day you'll be fortunate, or maybe when I'm a grandpa. Hello.
So now I have to make human beings and make pies?
I'm going to need 2 pies.
Well, 2 pies.
Well, you're very talented, honey, so I'm sure that you can cover these tasks very well.
You know,
okay.
Speaking of talent, I wanted to go back to our last text question that we kind of had to cut off right at the end before our break about, you know, what to do. And it's great to have.
I'll reread
the text.
The texter wrote, my RMD from my IRA is $25,000 per year. I don't need the money, and it piles up in my checking account where I get practically no interest. Is there an alternative to this?
So I was going to say...
I mean, it's great that you don't need the money.
Right. And
that's awesome. Rock star.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And there are probably a lot of people out there that might have started to accumulate some excess savings in either their checking or their savings account. It might not be specifically related to required minimum distributions, but there are quite a few options out there now that allow for liquidity, flexibility, and will provide a higher rate of interest than you are earning in your savings or checking account right now. Many banks are offering them. They're called high-yielding money market accounts. And what I would recommend is just taking a look either at the bank you're currently using if they happen to offer a higher-yielding savings account, or some other banks that are FDIC insured. You'll just want to make sure that you're comfortable with any terms or limitations that the particular money market account has. Some require a certain amount of money to earn the rate that they're offering. Some require a certain amount of transactions. So you just want to be clear on that. But I would say that's a great way to kickstart a little excess savings by getting some better interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is that if you're getting required minimum distributions, one thing that we're talking to our clients about every time is, are you making charitable contributions? Because this is the one avenue where you can basically get a tax break for things that you're already doing, especially if you're not itemizing your deductions. So, use a simple example. Let's just say that you belong to a church. Maybe you're supporting one of our veterans organizations. And let's just say, as an example, with this texter, that the total amount that they may be sending to their church and maybe to these other organizations is $2,000 a year. Well, that being the case, what could happen is that we could take that reportable income down from $25,000 to $23,000, and that $2,000 of savings there would translate possibly into as much as $500 or more of savings for them. So doing the things that you're already doing them, but doing them more effectively, our guidebook, the tax code, gives you opportunities, and you need to take advantage of those.
If you're making charitable contributions from your retirement accounts or your IRA, what's an important mechanical thing to keep in mind?
The custodian, right from the custodian to the charitable organization, not in your hands. Like the money shouldn't come out of your account to you onto them. It should just go directly from your account to the organization.
Exactly. This is especially important if you are not itemizing because
a mechanical nuance, if you will.
Exactly. It's especially important if you're not itemizing because if you receive the funds from your IRA, they're going to be taxable, and you won't be able to take the charitable deduction because you're not itemizing. Sending the money, like Rob said, directly from your IRA to the charitable organization will show the IRS that money shouldn't be taxed. However, if you are taking required minimum distributions, it will go towards those required minimum distributions in terms of the dollar amount that needs to be removed from your IRA, but it won't be taxed on your income taxes. So important to keep in mind. Another important thing to keep in mind is your smart choices about our healthcare segment, sponsored this week and every week by our very good friends at Aetna and Anthem of Missouri.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about Scott and Mary. And Scott and Mary both came onto Medicare in June. Scott continued working after he turned 65, so he used his special election period to join Medicare. And while Mary just turned 65, so she's using her initial enrollment period. While going through our meeting and discussing the differences between Medicare Advantage and versus Medigap, Scott and Mary also mentioned they are both currently in excellent health and really only go to doctor office for preventatives. Scott asked if his colonoscopy and shingle shot would be covered and if Mary's wellness visit would be covered as well.
So there's a lot of good stuff in this conversation that you had with Scott and Mary. First being that just because you're husband and wife, you can use different election periods in order to gain access to Medicare. Scott being older, still working, obviously Mary must have been on Scott's coverage while he was still working. So when Scott retired and lost his group health insurance benefits from his employer, he must have Mary lost hers as well. Scott will be using a special election because he's over the age of 65, but because he had coverage, he won't have to worry about any penalties or issues in enrolling, and he'll be able to enroll right when his coverage ends. So we didn't mention when Scott retires, but if it was in this month and he needs a September 1st effective date, his group insurance will run through the end of August, and then Medicare, as long as he enrolls this month, will begin September 1st.
Oh, so it's seamless for him.
It should be seamless, and it should be seamless for everyone because the nice thing is you can kind of back this up based on when you plan to retire. And if any delays happen in your enrollment, Medicare is going to backdate to the date that you should have had as long as your paperwork's in on time. The other great thing about Medicare is that they are very flexible here. So even if Scott were to not be able to submit his paperwork until August 31st. He's still going to get his September 1st effective date. So for people that can't plan their retirements out as well as they would like, maybe something unexpected happens or they're unfortunately laid off, and it could be towards the end of the month, that may be stressful. This, too, will be a little stressful, but know that we'll be able to get that worked out for you relatively quickly. There aren't the strict deadlines are literally the end of the month, which is very nice. And then Mary, turning 65, she must be in that initial 7 months that surrounds the month of her birth. So her enrollment's super easy. She's just going to log on to ssa.gov and enroll in Medicare as long as she does it the month before she wants her coverage to begin.
Isn't it Medicare.gov?
Well, Medicare.gov is where you can find all of the great information about Medicare expenses, what Medicare covers and what it doesn't, these information about these election periods. But you actually enroll in Medicare through the Social Security Administration's website because they're going to pull the premium for Medicare out of your Social Security check.
Gotcha.
So that's why when we mentioned earlier, if you are someone that's looking to retire and you might be out on, we call it the advisor circuit, and you're visiting a few people like ourselves, and we all ask for similar things like what your Social Security benefit's going to be, creating that myssa.gov account is never a bad thing because you're going to need it eventually to enroll in Social Security or enroll in Medicare. The other great thing about Medicare and Social Security is that they are tied together, but they're not contingent upon one another, which means you can take your Social Security and not take Medicare. There may be reasons for that. You can take Medicare and not take your Social Security benefit. But eventually, when you are receiving both, and for most people that's around the age of 70 years old, if you've waited that long to take your Social Security, they're going to force you to have the premium taken from your Social Security check, which isn't a bad thing. It's just another bill you don't have to write.
Pay premium Part B through your Social Security as well.
That's exactly right. So the other really great tidbit from this coaching session with Scott and Mary was the importance of knowing what is covered for you without any additional expense to yourself. So Scott asked about colonoscopies, shingles shots, and Mary asked about women's wellness. All three of those things are considered preventative care, which means that no matter what plan you select, Medicare Advantage or a Medigap policy, you are not going to pay above and beyond in order to receive those services. So, for example, if Scott elects a Medicare Advantage plan and has zero premium, when he goes in for his colonoscopy, he doesn't have to worry about paying for the outpatient service visit that he would have if it were not preventative. He won't be charged anything. When Mary goes for her women's wellness, she's not going to be charged a specialist visit when she goes to the gynecologist. She's not going to be charged a procedure visit when she has mammograms or any other type of women's wellness. That's all going to be covered for her at no extra charge. The only time, and there's a whole list, and you can log on to Medicare.gov to take a look at all of the preventative services covered under Medicare at no additional charge to you. So, like we said, that looks like no charge if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan and you're owing copays. But let's say you have a Medigap policy and you have that $200 deductible that's Medicare Part B. If you need any of these preventative services or it's time for you to have them, you're not going to pay towards your deductible either. So the colonoscopy would be no extra charge. You haven't even started to pay towards that deductible if you have a Medigap policy. Same thing with shingle shots, flu shots, men's and women's wellness. So that's really important. And like I was saying, you'll be able to see a full list of those services on Medicare.gov if that's something that you'd like to take a look at. And also every plan generally provides you with a nice list of things that you can have taken care of that are no additional charge to you. It's not really benevolence out of the insurance company, but it's really
they're getting in front of the costs, if you think about it, because if they can detect something early, then it will cost them a lot less to fix it early rather than try and deal with it after the fact.
That's another reason why these Medicare Advantage plans have started to add very lucrative dental, vision, hearing benefits, the Silver Sneakers program, because they want their enrollees to be as healthy as possible so they don't have to worry about paying down the line.
Healthy people don't cost money.
Not to the insurance company, at least. We did get a great text, just a little proof of how the benefits work. Just wanted your listeners to know that my Aetna Dental submittal I submitted my Aetna Dental claim earlier this month, and it was approved. I just got my check yesterday. Wow. So that's a 1 month turnaround. That's less than a month turnaround. I believe what this texture is referring to is, so if you are using an Aetna Medicare Advantage plan and you have accessed some dental coverage, if you're on the PPO style plan or the HMO style plan and your dentist is not doing the paperwork for you or not in the network, then you submit that dental claim on your own to Aetna with a proof of the bill that you paid. And then Aetna sends you a reimbursement back. And this is a really swift one because usually I've seen it could take much longer to get these dental reimbursements back. That doesn't mean they don't come. It just means, sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yes. I've also noticed that, so the way Aetna's dental is set up is that they're going to pay 50% of your bills up to that $1,000 or $2,000, depending upon how much dental you have on your plan. Many times over the past year or so, just to cut down on administrative issues, they were just reimbursing 100% until you got to your maximum. So you might get a few more dollars back than you had anticipated, which is also nice.
It's always nice to get back more money than you think you're going to get. When isn't that?
Well, I was going to say, I think it's great that, we love to have these conversations every week. We're helping literally hundreds of our listeners, folks like you, to get enrolled on a timely basis in Medicare, helping them arrange for, what is the best supplemental coverage that they can have with us. And we literally, over the last 10 years, have created thousands of clients in helping doing this. And it's just fun. It's fun to help people make this transition. This can be, frankly, it can be scary. You've had your employer choosing your health care for years. Now you have an opportunity where it all gets dropped in your lap, getting enrolled correctly, getting the right plan. And at least in this situation, we saw that the husband and the wife at this point, they don't necessarily have to be with the same company. They don't have to be with the same plan. One could take Medicare Advantage. One could take a traditional Medigap plan based upon their usage. So what you do is give our office a call, 314-863-0008. Frank Ellis is our Medicare specialist in the office. And as you can tell, the person that trained him is Aaron. So we have lots of backup to do that.
Yes, we do. The other thing I wanted to point out was it's great to be able to help people make a selection about the plan that fits them the best, but it's also a really nice opportunity for us to help people understand the plans a little bit better, understand their benefits a little more, because the more you're able to maximize your benefits, the happier you're going to be on these policies, knowing what doesn't have any additional expense to you, like these preventative services, knowing what might. So that's another important thing to point out is there are times in which you might have to pay for your preventative services. For example, if you have a screening done and then unfortunately something is found, or they would like additional treatment or additional tests to confirm that hopefully nothing is wrong, then your preventative test unfortunately becomes what they call diagnostic. And there are charges, but that doesn't mean that they're out of network or that it's not covered. It just means you're going to fall under whatever your plan benefits define as that type of service. So a lot of great ways to be able to not only save money by choosing an excellent plan to couple with your Medicare coverage, but being able to maximize the benefits on the plan that you do choose.
And I would just invite people to go back and peruse that first article on our newsletter, because it really breaks down some of those costs between original Medicare and Medicare Advantage, and even Medicare Advantage in high usage years, and how those costs compare. It's a very informative article, and it dovetails nicely with this discussion.
And if you are on Medicare and you're listening, you know that we're just like a month away from open enrollment. October 1st is when the new plans are released, so the new Medicare Advantage plan designs are released on October 1st. October 15th is when open enrollment officially begins, and you have until December 7th to make a decision for your 2024 health care. So if you're someone that would like a review, or you've worked with Frank or myself in the past and you'd like a review, just give our office a call, 314-863-0008. Frank's schedule is already starting to fill up for the open enrollment months, so we want to make sure that if you want a review, we get you in.
And it looks like we have a Medicare-related text question.
Let's take that text question, and then we'll take our first break of the hour.
And our texter writes, I'm turning 65 in November, and I'll be leaving my company's health care plan. Does it make sense to elect COBRA coverage after I leave, or should I enroll in Medicare?
You absolutely should take this opportunity to enroll in Medicare. One, you're going to find the price to be more palatable to you, but secondly, you're really not eligible for COBRA benefits. COBRA is for individuals that don't have access to other qualified coverage. Because you are 65, have access to your Medicare benefits, it's not illegal. No one's coming in the orange jumpsuit to put you into an orange jumpsuit. But what happens is Medicare does not recognize COBRA as qualified coverage if you are over the age of 65 years old, because Medicare says you should have taken our coverage, so we're not going to recognize your COBRA benefits. What that means is, unlike Scott from our previous chat, who was on employer-based coverage, retired, and then joined Medicare immediately, if he had elected to join COBRA instead, Medicare is, one, going to assess a penalty for all the months that he didn't elect his Medicare benefits and should have. And secondly, you're going to be locked into the Medicare Part B open enrollment time, which is not October 15th through December 7th. It's January 1st through March 31st, and your benefits don't begin until July. So you could be facing several months in our texter's case. That would be from November all the way till July. You would have coverage because you would be using COBRA. It would be very expensive.
I was just thinking that would be a very, very expensive bill every month.
Right, because you're paying the full price of whatever employer-based plan or whatever employer plan your employer chose, versus you being able to have the opportunity to choose your own Medicare benefits. Also, Medicare tends to be less expensive than COBRA is, at least in the last 7 to 10 years I've noticed. Unless you have a subsidized plan through your employer. Now, retiree medical benefits are different than COBRA, and they do give you the opportunity to leave. Medicare does consider retiree benefits qualified coverage. So this is another example of, if you're making a transition from one type of coverage to another, definitely want to chat with someone that's willing to take some responsibility to be a specialist here and tell you what your options are and what the repercussions are for each of those choices, because it can get a little bit complicated.
No, when I become a grown-up, in your dad's words, I'm going to go sit down with Frank. Or definitely have someone put another set of eyes on it.
That's right. And
I think something that most folks certainly don't realize, and I certainly have become knowledgeable about a little bit about this, obviously viewing from the outside with our clients, is that Medicare coverage is actually better. The maximum out-of-pockets that you're going to be experiencing are lower than the out-of-pockets that you have now. The deductible, if there is any, is much lower than you have with your current health plan. And so leaving your employer coverage is a little scary because you're used to it. Going to Medicare, though, is heaven, and the coverage is better. And making that assessment and making that decision about, as an example, if you have a spouse, should I continue on that spouse's coverage, or should I go to Medicare? COBRA is never the right option, generally. So that's what a coaching session is all about. So give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, 314-863-0008.
COBRA could be an option if you needed maybe a bridge to get you to Medicare. But
Absolutely.
If you're already eligible for Medicare, I'm just sitting here racking my brain. I can't think of a good reason why you'd spend all that money every month when you could just, you're on board right on to Medicare. I mean, it'd be one thing if you had a gap between, say you were 62 and you needed some time between, then COBRA could be an alternative.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is that every time what happens is that employers are federally required to send COBRA notifications to everyone, even if they're not eligible for their COBRA benefits, because it's a requirement. So you're 65, you receive the COBRA notification in the mail, and you're like, well, I'll take this. And it was offered to you. Why couldn't you have it? What would the repercussions be? They're not required to tell you that information. They're only experts in their own plan and their own requirements. So, unfortunately, you have to branch out a little bit once you leave your employer. But don't branch out too far, because we're going to take our first break of this hour, and we'll be right back.
Small change can make a big difference. If you're not happy with your current Medicare coverage, take a look at Coventry Healthcare. They have a wide range of plans with great service and clear costs, including medical and drug coverage in one simple plan. Just call 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now's the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back here on the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to take your phone calls and texts. Phone calls at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line, and we're halfway through hour number 2. So we will love to hear from you. Again, give us a call at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Do we have any other text, babe, that we need to deal with?
From the text line, how are investments managed under your program, internally or by a third party? Do you focus on individual stocks or mutual funds? Is this included in your 1% fee?
Wow. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
That was a mouthful.
You know, we need like a quarter to answer this question, right?
Well, we just need approval by compliance, which I don't know what that costs. A lot.
Exactly. So I'll start this one off, Dave, and I'll let you help me out. We have access to not only individual funds, but also modeled portfolios from various fund managers.
I think, Tim, before you start, we do this management is the main question.
Yeah, because we have discretion.
Selection, yeah.
Yes, we're the ones that make the selection of the portfolios for them. We typically do not use individual securities, and the primary reason is that anything that you're going to pick, unless it's a penny stock, is already a part of a portfolio that we're involved in. We also know that individual securities do carry much greater risks than a diversified portfolio, so we tend to go that way. We do have clients that do bring us individual securities. We kind of look at those as fund money, and if they want to manage those, that's certainly something they can do. We do charge all of our clients pay exactly the same fee. It's 0.25% per quarter based on the assets we have under management. And truthfully, I think it's a great break for those that have larger accounts, because larger accounts are more difficult to manage than smaller accounts. So unlike many other broker-dealers who charge more for smaller accounts, we don't. We charge everybody the same thing because we think everyone gets the same triumvirate of brain power from Robin, Aaron, and I, as well as from, if necessary, on Medicare with Frank. For every client, everybody gets the same brain power.
That's right. Well, you know what? We have two competing texts here, which I like. First being, just to let your listeners hear it from someone who has been there, I let go of COBRA and went to Medicare. I saved almost $2,000 a month for my husband when he went to Medicare also. So that's a pretty big savings. But on the other side, going from employer plan to Medicare is not always heaven. I paid $5 a month for my Humira to treat rheumatoid arthritis under my employer plan. Now on Medicare, Humana is about $500 a month. I think that we may have had this texter text in last week when Frank was here chatting a little bit about Humira and the costs therein. This is a great example of why it's important to chat with someone like Frank, who knows the plans very well, who can have an opportunity to sit down with you and talk specifically about your physicians and your prescriptions to determine, what the best plan is. But not only that, because it is true that there, in some cases, especially on the prescription side, it can be more expensive for individuals on Medicare. But if you know what the cost is on the front end, if we know that we found the best possible option to contain it, and you know what it's going to look like throughout the course of the whole year, then hopefully that will either give you a little peace of mind, or potentially it brings the expense down because, even under, we would have to do the math on this in particular, but, if you were paying almost $2,000 a month for COBRA benefits, if we just did some cost shifting and you had to pay $500 a month for the Humira and about $400 a month for your Medicare benefits, you're still saving $1,000 a month, just in that example, having switched to Medicare. So it's important to put things into context, but not every single – it doesn't work out roses the first time for every single Medicare enrollee, but we're definitely here to help if you found some potholes in Medicare.
Well, and the other side to that is that with our clients, if we have identified the cash flow, and we will do specifically, assuming your medications don't change, let's say as an example, and your doctor visits aren't changing, we then can take that healthcare expense number and put it back into your game plan to make sure that the cash flow is there. So obviously we're going to try to optimize benefits as much as we can, but at the same time, make sure that you got the money when you need it.
Right.
And our next texter writes, I have a Medicare Advantage plan. I'm taking my grandkids on a month-long out-of-state vacation. My wife asked me if one of us needs medical attention, will we be covered being we are out of the service area?
Man, I've heard so much about grandkids lately. They are real lucky. They are the luckiest.
I haven't heard enough about them, honey.
You don't have any.
That's my point.
Joe, just rub his face.
You're low. I think you are your mother. You're a little slow on the uptake.
No, I knew.
No, she knew. She just wanted to twist the knife a little bit.
Right, exactly. I knew.
That was a Team Jeffer response, by the way. Okay.
That's right. I'll be paying for that later. Yes, you do. Medicare Advantage does provide coverage both throughout the United States and throughout the world. So domestically, depending upon what type of Medicare Advantage plan you have, you even have voluntary access to coverage if you'd like. Dad, get out of the wind tunnel, please, for us all. Anyway, back to what I was saying.
International
and domestic. Domestically, you have ER and urgent care coverage under every Medicare Advantage plan available. Depending upon some Medicare Advantage plans that you select that have national networks, you might even have voluntary coverage available, which means if you're tired of the grandkids one day and you want to go to the dermatologist instead, you might have access to dermatologists wherever your vacation happens to be, depending upon what plan you have. So they've really expanded the benefits for you. You'll want to check with your specific plan to determine if you have those voluntary benefits, but everyone on Medicare Advantage has ER and urgent care access, so if something happens unexpectedly. If you happen to be admitted to the hospital through the ER while on vacation, all of that will be covered as in-network for you as long as you came through the emergency room. So if you had a maximum out-of-pocket of $3,000, that's still going to be your cap, even if you're not in the service area.
And there's even an international component to this?
There is an international component. If you happen to be out of the country, you have ER access throughout the world, and that's going to work the same way as it would if you were somewhere in the United States. If you're admitted to the hospital through the ER while you're out of the country, all of that's going to be covered as in-network for you as well. So you do have what I would consider to be comprehensive coverage while you're traveling with Medicare Advantage plans.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, the wind blowing here. I was thinking it was the winds of time, me being a grandpa, so hurried up. Okay.
The winds of time?
Wow.
The winds of time.
So hurry it up.
Hurry it up. Exactly.
Okay.
So any other text questions do we have today?
No. I mean, I only have, a massive showing of support as to the public abuse I'm taking right now. It's terrible.
Well, That's what happens. Do
You
your
know
thing,
what?
babe.
Let's talk about if Joe can retire in 60 days. I don't want to talk about grandchildren anymore.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it either, so we'll let it go for today.
Rob, tell us a little bit about Joe and Sally.
All right. Well, Joe is 59 years old. His wife, Sally, is 58. They both work for one of the large local universities as professors. Joseph would like to retire in 60 days. Sally would like to continue for another 2 years. That's very admirable, Sally.
I can't believe she wants to keep working after she's going to see her husband.
You don't want to be stuck home with Joe all day. No, kidding, Joe. Kidding. Joe has $1 million in his 401k. Sally has $700,000. So we can both see they've been kind of prolific savers, which is great.
Amazing.
They both have pensions, which is awesome, and they both have Social Securities.
Wow.
Social Security benefits available.
Wow, it feels like they have the essence of rock. They're young though, 59 and 58. That's great.
Yeah, but they do have some issues, right?
Right. Being 59 and 58, we have an issue of health insurance coverage because they're not Medicare eligible, and they won't be. So even if we
elected COBRA in this scenario, we would still have to go to the marketplace because COBRA's only going to give us 24 months or 18 months.
Right, 18 months.
18 months.
And we haven't done the math yet, but our goal is always to fall in line with what your goals are. So Joe would like to retire. Sally wants to work 2 more years. So it sounds like Joe would probably jump on to Sally's health insurance for 2 years, bringing Sally to 60 and Joe to 61. We still have a pretty sizable gap to fill in terms of health insurance if we're able to have Joe retire in the next 60 days.
Do we take the pension benefit as an income stream or a lump sum? This is the fun stuff, that, as your dad likes to say, and I totally agree.
Right, doing the math to figure out not only the math, but this is also a feeling thing because the math can go both directions for you, but really it comes down to what you're most comfortable with and what your ultimate goals and objectives are. Potentially being able to pass some of that money on to your we didn't even find out if Joe and Sally have children or, God bless, grandchildren. So
that word again.
Right, just
can't get away from it.
Well, we're hearing about my dad out in California where the weather is always supposed to be like a perfect 60, 75, and now he's eating blueberry pie for breakfast. I don't know who feels sorry for him, but it's not me. No, sir.
Well, this pension benefit certainly is interesting, as you said, babe. The first thing what we like to do is figure out whether this is, let's call it, quote unquote, a good deal. Is the amount of the distribution better than what we can do and duplicate outside of the pension plan? And then number 2, and maybe more importantly, is we haven't talked about the other assets that these folks have. If they have a sizable amount of assets outside, they may want to consider taking those pension plans as the base so they can let their current assets grow. Alternatively, if they don't have a lot of assets, well, it may be an important goal for them to attempt to, as much as they can, pass on the capital to children / grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whoever it might be. So very individualized decision, and, there could be variations here.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, if we're looking at their cash flow game plan, we may find out that maybe they only need one pension. So as an example, maybe they take Joe's, and then Sally takes the lump sum, or vice versa, based on their Social Security benefits. So and the timing of those benefits and the amount of assets they have. So it's a war game, but it's a fun one because it's all about you.
That's right. And before we get into the specific math of Joe and Sally, let's take our last break of the hour, and then we'll come back and see, can Joe retire in 60 days?
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on retirement.
If you're turning 65 this year, you face one of the most critical choices for your retirement game plan: enrolling in Medicare Part B and choosing your Medicare supplement. I will help you safely navigate this process and find the health insurance plan that best works with your new Medicare coverage. Getting started is easy. Call me at 314-863-0008, 314-863-0008 to arrange for a free health insurance coaching session, or email me at aaron@jblfinancial.com.
Now is when Coventry turns confusion into clarity. Coventry Healthcare has got a simple approach to care. By listening to their members, Coventry can make plans that work harder for you and your budget. The result? They offer great service and clear costs. If you're looking for a plan that's more about you, give them a call at 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now is the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back here in the Big 550. It's 10:44. We've got about 13 minutes or so left in the show. We were talking about Joe and Sally, a couple of college professors. Joe wants to cut his ties and get out of here in 60 days, and his wife Sally's going to go for another 2 years. We talked a little about health care, where obviously Joe would probably go on to Sally's plan rather than electing Cobra. Once Sally goes and the two of them, since they're under 65, will have to elect Cobra, and then obviously look at either the exchanges or an individual plan. But we were getting ready to talk a little about their cash flow, which I think is kind of fun. So let's run through the numbers if we can.
So we're going to start with Joe hiring and Sally still at work. So using their goal between this year and 2025, their income goal, well, their ongoing income need is about $7,000 a month. We've already grossed that up for taxes, so we've included what they would need in order to cover any tax issues. Sally's income is $3,000 a month. If Joe elects to take the pension on a monthly basis, that will be $3,400 a month of income for him. So that means that their deficit from that $7,000 a month goal is only going to be $600 a month,
or $7,200 a year. And when we consider that Joe will most likely be taking his money and moving it in from his company plan to his individual IRA, $7,200 out of $1 million is a drop in the ocean. It's less than 1%.
Well,
and so that certainly is a makeable goal.
And also, just not to be too technical, but as we did have quite a few textures notice our grammar issues, I'm going to notice our issues here too. Joe's 59. Is he 59 and a half, or is he not that age yet?
Well, it makes a difference for withdrawals from his distributions from his retirement account.
Exactly.
That half is
key.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. So if he's under 59 and a half, what we would probably recommend is that he would leave either all or a portion of the money in his retirement plan until he became 59 and a half, where if we moved to an IRA, he could then get distributions.
Right. Also, his deficit is, in this particular example, because Sally is still being forced to slave away at work, their income deficit for the first 2 years while Joe is retired is going to be relatively minimal, which means, Joe could theoretically take a distribution from his 401k after he leaves work of the full $7,200 to cover the year, and then we could do the rollover.
Yes, and we haven't discussed this at this point, but there certainly is a possibility, and we see this all the time, that they may have some other, let's call them capital consumption goals they would be involved in, whether it's updating the house or buying another car, et cetera, which would really further the idea of not necessarily doing a rollover immediately if Joe's 59 and a half, to give them the opportunity to withdraw that money, even though it would be taxable, but not be subject to the 10% penalty.
That's a good point. Let's see here. I was going to say, go ahead.
I think you're just going to go further, is that, when it comes time that Joe's able if he took his Social Security benefit early, which would make sense if, in fact, at 62, which again would be 3 years from now, if, in fact, he isn't going to be planning on doing any part-time work and earning over $21,000, I believe what the limit is today, that's going to provide them with $2,400 a month of income. Obviously, easily covering over the $600 deficit but also taking a pretty big hunk out of Sally's current income goal, which is income flow, which is $3,000. So the $2,400 of his income versus the $3,600 they would need. Now we're up to a whopping $1,200 a month, or $14,000 a year, which takes Joe's withdrawal rate to 1.4%. Rock stars. Would you agree?
Yeah. You're just on a roll that I think the blueberry pie really amped you up this morning. You're like
sugar rush.
Sugar rush.
Well, I had an opportunity while you were doing the Medicare segment to get another piece. So I'm just,
ate a whole pie.
For breakfast,
I'm like, fine.
I'm smarting about the breakfast. This is the Kellogg's.
Well,
nah. Eggs, no.
Well, I could tell you that your mom made me walk the dog, but I won't. Okay. So. You were hearing a whoosh.
Oh, I see.
No. That was what the airflow was, because the dog's dragging me a lot. But anyways, further, when Sally, when she becomes eligible to take her Social Security benefit, which again, her early Social Security benefit is 62, which would be approximately 4 years from now, that's going to throw another $1,700 into the mix. So
they're going to have more money in retirement than they did while they were working.
Right. So taking the pension option for Joe really is going to come down to safety and comfort, and the goal of whether or not they really want to have an opportunity to pass this capital on. Because, with a pension, assuming that you don't want to sleep on a porch forever, if you have a spouse, you're electing some type of a joint survivor option. Once your surviving spouse, assuming you predeceased them, is gone, deal's done. Pension's over. Lump sum's gone. So taking that chance or having the ability to reproduce that pension income or a portion of it that's needed is flexibility many people want. And in this particular case, when you look at these guys, they've got $7,000 a month that they need. Their Social Security benefits, even if they take them early, is going to run $3,200 a month. They need about $3,000 a year from the 1.7. Yeah, right, $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year from the 1.7 million. We're looking at a 2% withdrawal rate.
Well, also the interesting thing is that's a 2% withdrawal rate, and that doesn't include what those lump sum numbers would be if they forego the pension. We're still just looking at what they had in their retirement plans. Because, Dad, I was actually doing the same numbers you were about, what would happen if Joe didn't if neither of them took the pension, we just had Social Security to rely upon. The way I'm kind of looking at it is we have a 2-year gap where there's going to be a larger amount of money spent because Joe's pension isn't available, nor will the Social Securities be. So it's really just Sally's income that is going to be coming in, and we'll have to make up the difference there. That's for a protracted amount of time. Then we'll have 2 more years when we're waiting for we'll have 1.5 years when we're waiting for Social Security to begin. But their deficit, like you said, Dad, really only accounts for about $800,000 of their overall asset total, not including lump sums.
And we haven't really even considered or had any discussion. What if they have other assets? What if they have Roth IRAs as an example? What if a part of these are Roth IRAs? They could make distributions or non-taxable. What if they have non-qualified assets? Do we use them maybe as a stopgap measure until Joe becomes 59 and a half, or until we get through the one Social Security period? There are so many options that are available here for them. It really comes down to comfort and confidence. Confidence in your advisor they're able to deliver, but I think what's kind of cool, and we discussed this a little bit earlier today, if they really want a pension plan, is it possible, and we know that it is, can we design a personal pension for them to replicate that income flow that they need at the level that they need it, and then the rest of the money that's out there, it's just available for what you want to do, for fun stuff, either to increase capital, either increase your income, make gifts, or just to watch money grow for those kids and grandkids. It's customizing your game plan is really what retirement planning is all about. And truthfully, it's managing faucets, and it's fun. So we get excited about it.
Yes, we do. We also get excited about text questions. When managing equities in the millions for a retired person who doesn't need the income, do you select individual stocks or do you mainly use ETFs? We like to use a combination of are we allowed to mention this on the air?
We can't mention companies.
All right. So we like to use a combination of mutual funds and managed funds that often incorporate ETFs into their models, depending upon if your assets are held inside of retirement accounts or outside of retirement accounts, because depending upon the vehicle that you select, the taxation may be slightly different. But we also like the diversity that they provide.
And also, we don't know you talked about with these assets. If the person doesn't need the income flow, ETFs tend to be a little bit more tax efficient because they're not distributing dividends. And at the same time, we're not dealing with capital gains.
Right.
So we may go that way, but again, instead of selecting individual ETFs, we tend to use companies doing the modeling. And the reason I say that is that we think that the fund companies, through their management, understand the underlying securities and the relationship between those securities, honestly, a little better than we do. So it's sort of like Tiger Woods. Let him play with his own golf clubs. He'll play better than he would with mine. So good text question.
Our next texter writes, I have several investments inside my IRA. How should I determine which to sell when executing a required minimum distribution? Excellent question.
This is a good question, especially because we've seen a nice run-up in the market over the past several months. What do you sell? But also, has that rebound created any imbalances in your portfolio? That's where I might start, which is, are you still in your risk tolerance? Are you in the balance that you were looking to have? If you're a moderate investor, if you're hoping to target 60% equities, 40% bonds and cash, has that run up in equities tilted your portfolio? I might start taking some of those potential gains that you've had to make some sales.
I would only add to this that people that invest in individual securities have to ask themselves one basic question, and it's the same question I've posed to people for the last 20 years. If you had cash today, would you invest in that security? If you don't like it, it's not performing the way you want to, it is the perfect candidate to be gotten rid of, period. I mean, if you're not going to invest money, if you wouldn't buy it today, why would you keep it? Because you obviously have opportunity costs. So good question. Good text question. We've got about 3 minutes left.
We do. And our next texter writes, I'm currently working. However, my wife is not.
Good for her.
Is she able to contribute to an IRA? Not until she gets a job, sir.
Well, luckily, her sweet husband.
Rob, right.
Luckily, her sweet husband, because he's working, can contribute. It's called a spousal IRA, which means that as long as his income is over $6,500, if I'm assuming she's over the age of 50, as long as her income is, as long as his income is over that amount, he's able to make the full contribution for her.
Yeah, and obviously another alternative my question would be the texter is, are you making the maximum $24,000 contribution to your 401k plan?
If you have a 401k.
If you do have one, if you have that type of a retirement company-sponsored retirement plan available, you can always increase your contribution to make up that which you would put in for your spouse, or if you're still under the income limits, you could do both. Right. Exactly. Good question.
We have our next texter, and he writes, I have worked for a large company for over 30 years. I feel like it's time to retire. I am considering rolling over my 401k into an IRA. I am 56 years old and would like to start taking distributions right away. How can I do this?
Man, that's a great question. That was the same conversation we were having in regards to Joe, if he had reached 59 and a half or yet not.
The only thing I would suggest is maybe not rolling this over to an IRA. because the 401k has a little bit more lax distribution rules.
Right, as long as you're over the age of 55.
And separated from your employer, you can take advantage of the 55 and over rule that governs 401ks. And I think that might be something that you might want to consider.
And those rules mean that, you can take as much or as little as you'd like out of your 401k without any penalty, but you will pay taxes. So this is an important conversation to have with, I think, an advisor, because they'll help you determine how much do you leave in your 401k potentially versus roll some over into an IRA if you'd like some new investment choices, some new options. You have some other goals for that money, but you want to make sure that you have access for at least 3.5 years to your funds so you can continue to make your life work. We do have one more text question on the text line here. Regarding the $1 million equity investment, is there an additional charge over the 1% that you charge? We do not have any a la carte charges for our services, so everything that we do is wrapped up in our 1% charge on an annual basis. There are investment charges that are customary 12B1 fees that happen in mutual funds or investment charges, depending on the securities that are selected that you're already paying. So with that in mind, we will see everyone next week. Have an excellent weekend.